Hey everybody, welcome back to the stream or the video if you're watching later. Today I want to talk about Steve Kerr. Starting off with a fun fact, Steve Kerr still leads the NBA in all-time three-point shooting percentage at 45.4, and the cutoff line for that is any players that have made at least 250 threes. He also led the NBA in the highest three-point percentage in a season until Kyle Korver broke it in 2010. Kyle Korver is one of the greatest shooters of all time too. I mean, he played into his 40s, I think. Maybe he's still in the league. I'm not quite sure. Just because he was such a great shooter, he could just come off the bench and, light you up for 30 points if he was hot. He was vital to some of the Cavs championship hopes back when they played the Warriors and had LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love and whatever. But going on to Steve Kerr, I wanted to talk about how his team's assembled and how they have Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and how they drafted them along with Harrison Barnes when they made their first run back in the 2015 season, and then when they went 73-9. The entire roster, the core players that are still on the Warriors today and still making them great were Mark Jackson's dudes. Mark Jackson was the architect, if you want to say it, for this current Warriors team. And Steve Kerr just got dumped into his lap, the greatest shooter of all time, considered by most people, as well as maybe the greatest, second greatest shooter of all time in Klay Thompson. We'll see where that stands with him coming back from his injury recently. He also has one of the best pure defensive players in Draymond Green. And when Draymond gets going from three-point range and gets hot, he is dangerous because, you're going to have your third best defender on him behind the guys guarding Klay and Curry. So if Draymond's knocking him down, the Warriors are never going to lose a game. And he was shooting, I think he shot almost 40% from three in the season where they went 73-9. And so maybe Steve Kerr's helped a little bit with the shooting percentages with some of these players because he was such a great shooter when he played. But he's just not as great of a coach as we want to think. How do you lose a series after you've won 73 games? You break the all-time record for the most wins in an NBA season, and then you blow a 3-1 lead to LeBron. Not saying that LeBron's great or taking anything away from him, but you're up 3-1. You're the first team in NBA history to blow a 3-1 lead in the finals with this core of amazing players, and then you bring in Kevin Durant and to just make this team even better. You have the best shooter, maybe the second best shooter. You have the best pure scorer as considered by most in Kevin Durant. You have one of the greatest defensive players in Draymond Green. You don't even need a center. You could have fielded the court with four guys and they would have won a chip. So Steve Kerr has kind of had it easy compared to most of these coaches. That's just where I view him. He's definitely overrated from that point. I feel like he's underperforming. After Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant went down in 2019 against the Raptors, I'm a Raptors fan, so I loved every minute of us winning a championship. I didn't want it to come at the cost of us missing Klay for 2 years of basketball and missing significant time of Kevin Durant, because those are some all-time great players. You don't want to see them not on the court. Anybody who loves basketball wouldn't want them to get hurt. But I feel like Steve Kerr, with Steph Curry, still the greatest shooter of all time, and Draymond Green as one of the best defensive players of all time, could have outmatched that Raptors team and won the series anyways. But they didn't. All you had to be was Kawhi Leonard. Not saying he's bad by any means. He's a great defensive player and he's just a great two-way player. He's a fantastic scorer. And he led that Raptors team mentally into the championship. But I don't know. When you look at the team, you had Fred VanVleet that was just getting on track. And he hasn't missed strides since then. He's an all-star in my opinion. Easily. Probably should be a starter this season. And then you had Kyle Lowry, who's averaging a simple, I think, 11 points right now with the Heat. But just had a defensive mindset and was the player who took the most charges in the league. And then you had Kawhi Leonard, obviously. We all know how great he is. And then Pascal, who essentially disappeared in the playoffs, and he's been been struggling ever since. He's a great second option. I feel like Raptors won't ever win a chip with him as their first. And Serge Ibaka. Um, I mean, it was a solid all around team, but nothing that the Warriors team shouldn't have been able to handle. Um, he just simply got outcoached by the coach of the year at the time, obviously, but just simply outcoached with better players on your team. And so that's why I think Steve Kerr is overrated. He's never had to be the guy that everybody looks towards. Even when he played in the NBA, I mean, he had Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman on his team with the Bulls, and then he played on the Spurs with the Admiral. And he's just he's never had to be the man, and he still isn't in Golden State. He gets to kind of hide behind his players, and any coach would succeed in that situation. I feel like it's just not a hard place to be. So I'm not going to bash him for it, but I do think he's overrated because of it.